Hello, credit union friends. Today, I'm excited to have Kristen Llewelyn, Senior Manager, Affinity Partnerships at BECU. We are going to be talking about sponsorships and partnerships. Welcome to the BD Now channel, Kristen.
Hi, Julie. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yay, excited to have you here. You recently wrote an article for the Credit Union Times about sponsorships and partnerships. And something that really resonated with me was you talk about authentic engagement, long-term community relationships. Can you tell us a little bit about your role with BECU?
Yeah, so I'm really involved in overseeing BCU's sponsorships and partnerships. So those include our college partnerships, pro sports teams, and of course, community partners. Our responsibilities really kind of include managing those day-to-day partnerships. Formulating strategies, on-site activations, workplace banking, even affinity debit and credit cards, and as well as just, coordinating and collaborating on various events with our partners.
I would imagine that because of BECU's presence and brand, that you have a lot of requests for sponsorships. So can you talk about your decision-making process and kind of the strategy behind that?
Yeah, yes, we do get a lot of requests, and that's kind of really a great question. I think for me, the number one thing that I look at is alignment. So I want to ensure that the sponsorship is kind of in alignment with our credit union's objectives, our goals, and our missions, because it makes the sponsorship more authentic and really kind of generally contributes to that greater success as it really resonates or makes more logical sense, right? So when I'm evaluating those opportunities, I kind of strive to ascertain like how well they'll align with those things. So a big focus at BECU recently has been on member benefits. So really translating that to exploring opportunities where BECU members can receive discounts, special experiences, or even exclusive benefits. So maybe it's discount on admission or a special entry line. Really anything that kind of enhances their membership with us. And then also financial education is very much an integral part of our mission. So I often find ways to incorporate financial wellness into our sponsorships. So, for instance, our partnerships with our college athletics teams, we actually organize financial education seminars and webinars for their student athletes. So we have this, I've been joking, we have this newly adopted catchphrase is how can we be BECU 365? And I love it because I think it embodies that continuous effort to align our agreements with that guiding principle. So always seeking opportunities that resonate with and reflect the essence of who BECU is throughout the year.
Do you get good engagement with that financial education piece?
We do actually. We've kind of integrated with some of the life skills courses that they require for athletes, and so a lot of times maybe they're getting an incentive for going, but we also find that a lot of times the content really resonates with them as well.
I've been impressed. I follow you and I've gotten to know you, and I know Wanda
Yeah.
Budrius. I know you both have high levels of engagement in everything that you are doing. So, can you talk a little bit about the activation, the engagement process that you go through to make sure that it's not just a one and done? I think one of the things that you mentioned in your article was the logo slap, right? So, how do we
Yeah.
get bigger than that?
Yeah, yeah, that's the next kind of crucial element for me, Julie. So it kind of goes beyond more than that logo placement, like you said, or signage, but kind of really striving to integrate visibility across all our different channels. So encompassing the event signage like the LED displays, giveaways, on-site activations, and even social media. Kind of having a multifaceted approach maximizes that exposure, but also kind of enhances the impact of the sponsorship. So similar to that marketing rule of threes where repeated exposure builds trust, I think the same principle really applies to sponsorship. So when people see our logo alongside other well entities, it begins to foster that trust. In a specific instance, for example, we leverage social media to engage our members by promoting a ticket discount on social media for our Seattle tip-off game, which was Gonzaga and UConn. So additionally, with that sponsorship, we had TV visible signage, and then we also had an on-site presence. Wanda was there tabling with some really fun giveaways. And then we also had social media at the event. So watching the game on TV, viewers could see the LED signs, but also saw the credit union's logo on these handheld signs that the fans had. Really having a multi-angle approach kind of subtly embedded our brand to those viewers, which creates kind of a lasting impression from different perspectives.
Do you have a similar process that you go through prior to each sponsorship?
I think, we have so many opportunities to be on site that we're having to kind of select which ones make the most sense. And so we're constantly evaluating what that looks like. What's the foot traffic going to be? What's the audience? Is it, reaching that target demographic that we want to be at? So I think on-site presence is important, especially when you're reaching that target audience that you have, because you have the opportunity to sit there and talk to them and be the face of your credit union.
Yeah. I think that's so important. And sometimes when we're just throwing money at things, we're not seeing the results, are we?
Yeah, definitely. That
Yeah.
happens.
So when you think about outcomes and expectations, what are you trying to like accomplish, and what are the outcomes of some of these events that you're doing?
Yeah, so I think a lot of the outcomes they vary per partnership, and so I try to kind of measure or come up with a metric prior. So I get this question actually a lot around how do you measure the success, right? And in
Yeah,
my
yeah.
perspective, I think that ties back to your alignment. So back to my first answer is looking at what your credit union's goals, missions, and values are, and gauge your success off of those. So I've seen credit unions focus on brand awareness and maybe look at impressions or a brand tracker, look at member acquisition with promo codes, or even member benefits. So I think you really have to define that metric going into the sponsorship to help you partner and help let your partner know, because they'll help strive to hit that metric. I think that shows how you're contributing to the credit union's goals as well, and it kind of empowers you to evaluate the effectiveness of the sponsorship really, and then refine that strategy if it's not working for future negotiations.
Mhm, yeah. I remember the first time when I learned, I was so young when I was doing some of this stuff. I didn't know, I didn't have anyone necessarily training
Yeah.
me. And I learned that I could ask for things that are not in the sponsorship agreement. That
Yes.
was, I felt so powerful. And so, can you talk a little bit about how often are you negotiating the sponsorship, and what types of things are you looking for?
I'm always negotiating the agreements, because I feel like a lot of times sponsors send over very cookie cutter, here's gold, silver, and bronze package, right? And so sometimes that just doesn't work for us. One of the first things I noticed, especially with credit unions, is that I would look at some of the contracts we had, and there were five or six elements that we were paying for but not executing on. And when I asked about that, people were like, "Oh, well, we didn't know that we could take those out." So I really always just ask. I think it's important to just ask that question. For example, that Seattle tip-off game we had, there wasn't a member discount included, but I knew that was important to us. So we asked for that, right? So asking for things that are going to make sense in your sponsorship, usually the partners are willing to kind of give and take and give that to you.
Are you getting mostly yeses when you make requests?
I haven't had anybody tell me no. They've maybe tried to like negotiate on price a little bit, but usually they're, willing if it's something they can support, right? If I'm have an egregious ask or something they can't execute on, they're usually pretty honest with me. But for the most part, if there's something I know I can't execute on, they'll take it out and even lower the cost of the sponsorship.
A question that I get asked a lot, and I'm curious about your opinion, is so you make contact with all these people at an event. What is that follow-up process? How do we keep that conversation going and give that legs?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think one of the things we've done specific to events is that we usually have a giveaway. And on our giveaway forms, we ask, do you want us to reach out to you? And then we take those leads and actually enter them into our referral system. So Wanda's team will follow up with those and ask them, what was the information that you were looking for? How can we help you? So I think that really helps kind of foster that trust. And it's people that have told us they wanted to talk to us, right? So that we already know it's kind of a warm lead. They know that we're likely going to follow up with them.
You're doing individual outreach to those people. You're not just sending them into an email drip campaign. Is that right?
We do have some email drip campaigns, but for the most part, the enter to wins actually we'll follow up with them individually. We do get some lists from other events where our digital marketing team is now experimenting with those to see if they can send out some communication. There's definitely some give and take there and can spam laws that you have to be aware of. So I think it's really targeting your message to that audience. So, we've partnered with some of our alumni associations to send out emails to their members. And so we'll talk about maybe the affinity card we have with that school, right? So really targeting that message to them.
I think there's room too for more activation. Would you agree as you talk to people across the country?
Always. I think the more you can be at events, the better. I know that that's sometimes hard and limited, but people like to see who they're doing business with. And so when they see you in the community, that kind of really fosters that trust.
Kristen, this is so helpful. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. As you know, we are all lifelong learners in the BD Now community, and we end with a social spotlight. Can you share who you follow that inspires you or who you learn from?
Yeah, I've really been loving insight from Adam Grant lately, really in regards to business leadership, right? I really feel like his human centric approach, he offers positive and empathetic perspectives and really values mental health as a leader. And that's something that's important to me personally. And of course, in leadership. So,
Yeah, I love following him too. And I was
yeah.
sharing with you, and I'll share it with everyone out here. I'm launching this, and this is new. So I just launched yesterday, as we're doing this interview, the BD Now channel. And I was listening to Adam Grant just a few days ago, and he was interviewing someone, one of his recent podcasts. And the person he was interviewing, and I'm sorry, I can't remember who it was about how to have control over your emotions. And
Yeah.
she said, get your butterflies in formation and just go. And I love that.
Love that.
So he
Yes.
inspires me too. Well, thank you for joining us on the BD Now channel. I'm so excited that you're here and shared all of this great information with us.
Yes. Thanks for having me, Julie. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. We'll see you soon. See you next time.
Thanks.